and then we'll chat.
Yeah, I think we can. Let's have a good discussion about employee engagement. So maybe to start off, let's maybe get a sense of how do you feel about your employee engagement at the moment? Do you feel your employees are engaged? Do you feel that they're not? Do you feel it could be better? Do you think it could be worse? Just give us a bit of a very quick check-in terms of your own experience. So that's Ian and Hannes. And also let us know how many employees you have and a little bit about what you do.
All right, I'll kick off then. At the moment, we have approximately 11 employees. We are a manufacturing facility here in Johannesburg, and our employee engagement is probably extremely low, probably less. On a scale of 1 to 10, we're probably hovering around a 1. There is also very much a mindset of each employee sort of just wants to take care of themselves. So there's not even an engagement across employees, never mind between myself, management, and employees. So that's a big thing, a big culture change that we're working on with Jason, and a very big part of our plans in the radical change that's happening here at Vector Engineering.
Amazing. So that's. I just want to say thank you for your honesty here, because I often find that leaders or managers think the situation is a lot better than it is. So you've kind of laid it out, and there's definitely room for improvement. Can I understand the structure a little bit? So you said you've got 11 employees, and there's you and management and the manufacturing staff all included in the 11. So what's the split?
Lana has just joined us now. Basically, we have a very flat structure, which I also want to change, because being a business owner, I've fallen into that typical mindset of trying to run the business, trying to create the vision and the plan forward, but I'm still very much tied down to daily operations. So at the moment, it's literally myself. My wife, Debbie, does the accounts and any finance. We have a lady called Lana that we brought on board recently that's slowly but surely taking over the daily operational requirements from me. And then very much a flat structure from there. Small manufacturing teams of 3 people with a team leader.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thanks for that. Hannes, how about you? Do you want to share your... let's just see Lana, because we can't see her. She's there, I think. But
yeah. Ta-da!
Morning.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to Vector.
Thank you. Yeah. So I don't know if I can share much about because obviously I'm not the CEO of my company.
I disagree.
From an employee perspective, so part of BrightRock being a new life insurance product in the market, and a very how can I say, innovative, something new. And yeah, I must say, I think the people, really believe in the product, even though every guy works for himself and he works for commission, and so that I think that makes our engagement a bit higher, because it's a product that you really have to believe in to be able to, or engage in to sell. So yeah, I think for that reason we have got a high engagement structure, if that is I don't know, relevant. But yeah, other than that,
you're part of a team of you selling a new insurance product, did I understand correctly?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
do you want to tell us what kind of an insurance product it is?
What type of product it is?
Yeah. What are you selling?
It's life insurance. It's
okay.
basically a life insurance product. So, but it as being a new product provider in the market,
okay.
It's a new offering that's basically out there.
Okay. And can you tell us a little bit about your team structure? Because I think that's very useful to know.
How's it, Jakes? Sorry.
So I think the business structure we've got 12 regional teams across the country. And then, well, I think what BrightRock has done well, because that's our distribution sector, and Mr. Sean Handon attributes quite greatly to that. So I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's been involved in the business of Discovery and Liberty as well. So he's got a structure that works quite well. So he starts up hubs across the country, essentially. And then, what we then do is each hub has got their 3 teams or managers. And then typically we've got 10 people per team. And then obviously we've got our head office structure. So in total, I think we've got about 500 employees. And we're growing on 43% year on year. So it's a big business, constantly growing and expanding. So we've got our head office admin support staff, and then we've got our salespeople.
So Hannes, do you feel like you're part of a team, or do you feel like pretty much a standalone person doing your thing?
What I quite enjoy, is that the accessibility of our CEOs and the top guys, operational managers, etc. Like we've recently brought over Isaac Medal from PPS. He's joined our team to head up our operational side, and I mean, you get to chat directly with the guy. If you've got issues, you can talk directly to him. So that gives a guy, just gives you that set confidence in the company and a certain appreciation towards management.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Hannes. So how engaged would you say you are from the other side? So instead of assessing your team's engagement, how engaged, if you're willing to share, I mean, if you don't want to, that's also okay.
Myself?
Yeah. On a scale of 1 to 10.
I'm 100% in. I mean, that if you use the structures are there, so they've provided everything. All that we need to do is to use the product and to because it's something we can believe in and it's something we can engage in. So I'm obviously, I think I'm highly involved. My whole life revolves around my work basically. So that's.
So I think, thanks for that. There's a lot that we can learn from that. So what I heard very strongly from you is that your engagement is really strong because of, firstly, your belief in your product, and secondly, the access that you feel you have. So there's an open environment where everybody is in a relationship with each other, and you have access to your more senior level managers as well, which adds to that.
Yeah. Correct.
Great. And we've got Jakes on the line, so welcome, Jakes.
How's it, Jakes?
I wonder if you can hear us.
Jakes, can you hear us? Give a thumbs up if you can. Probably not. Okay.
Shall we carry on?
Yeah.
So I'd love to. Yeah, sorry. Do you want to go ahead, Jason?
What do you carry on?
I was going to ask a question.
Okay.
Another question that I'd love to hear the answer to. Who did we lose? Jason. The question that I wanted to ask is this. What do you think the best thing is that your employees can say about you? Or if you're looking from an employee perspective, like maybe Hannes, if you want to rather answer, what is the best thing you would be able to say about your boss? So for you, Ian, what is the best thing? And Lana, what is the best thing you would want to hear? What is the best thing that if I had to go and interview your employees now, that you would want them to say about you? What would make you feel really?
That you'd want them to say, or that you believe that they are saying?
In an ideal situation. So they might not say it. So take ideal boss, ideal engagement, the way you'd want it to be. What do you think the best thing your employees could say about you is? As a boss.
I would say right now, considering the fact that we have had a lot of ups and downs over the last couple of years, but no matter where we've come from, I think my employees would honestly say that my word is my bond. If I say something, I'll follow through on that.
Okay, awesome. And is that in the ideal, if your company was working exactly how you'd want it to work and you had the engagement at 10 out of 10 rather than 1 out of 10, what would you want your employees to, what would be the best thing they could say about you in that situation? Would it be the same or would it be something different?
No, I think from that point of view, in the ideal environment, it would be that the vision that we have for the culture change and the growth, that plan was articulated properly and that they are part of the team that's achieved that.
So the best thing they could say is we achieved an amazing vision, something like that?
Correct, that the vision that I'm projecting and that I'm engaging them with has been the right decision, and we're all benefiting because of that vision.
Okay, great. Lana, how about you?
I would say communication is key, yeah, the person needs to know their employees.
So my boss knows me.
Yes.
Good. Hannes?
Yeah, eating his egg.
We need you back, Hannes.
I'm busy.
Not giving you much time to cook.
No. Okay, so I think the best thing that I could say from my boss, I mean, I've had various MDs coaching me and guiding me. And in a sense, the last while I've basically taken up the responsibility to become my own boss. I think, you know, because I feel, I've had good managers and then bad managers, but in the top structure, our CEOs and the guys, you know, the best thing I can say of them, they're brilliant. They've got, they're really intelligent people, and they know what they're doing.
Okay, so I'm not asking you, Hannes, I don't want you to assess your current bosses. I really want to say, what do you think is what would you want to be able to say about your boss?
That they're always there for me, that they're always helping me to achieve my personal goals that I would like to achieve. And I would love to say that they have got something or they can assist me in a way that I can't assist myself with. So they need to be able to take me to the next level and push me, and to be able to, you know, really commit. And yeah, that's what I would love, if someone can provide you something that you can't provide yourself. I think that's quite important.
So they're always there for me, they're supporting me, they're giving me, they've got my back, they're pushing me to a level that I can't do by myself. Exactly. Okay, excellent. How about you, Jason?
So I've had a lot of thinking about, I mean, just in this discussion around our structure at Maximus, where I'm working. And I would like to be seen as someone who encourages, who's creating a team, who is getting the best out of people. So not so much being seen as you have to do this, you have to be there, you got to work from 9 to 5, and these are this, that, and the other. I believe that if people are given the freedom and want to grow and be the best that they can be, they will give you the best. So I want to be that type of a person. When someone says, well, what did Jason do? He encouraged, he made me grow as a person. And as a result of that, we were able to achieve a collective vision. So the vision that he had worked for me as well. I'm trying to build a team and get a team going in the same direction. It's not just me. And I believe that if you work for me, if I work like that, then everybody will benefit. And I think that's what my ideal vision would be.
I love that. So you actually, if I just distill it, you're saying it's that team feeling, that community feeling, where you encourage and help your people to grow as a team. Yeah,
and all together move towards a vision that's beneficial for all of us. I think that the vision is created, it is pretty clear, but it's not just mine.
Okay, great.
That's how I feel.
Zahira, do you want to pitch it?
So my boss, who's Jason, and he refuses to accept that because he says I'm his business partner, which is great, by the way. I think he's already at that point, and he does do that. And this is not to stroke his ego, but he's the best boss that I've had thus far.
Yeah.
I do believe he's already doing what he's saying that he's doing, but we do have opposition in the workplace from our other people that are there. And I think it's from a place where they're just stuck in old habits and running a business in a particular way. But what I would like to see from, for example, our CEO is the value within each employee and how much they bring to the table.
Okay. So the best thing that you'd want to be able to say, the thing you'd want to be able to say about your boss, and you can say because your boss is sitting in the room and he's a great boss, valuing you. I value my employees for their unique contribution.
Yes, except that this boss of mine already does, so I've got to refer to someone else in the company.
That's
so
okay.
yeah.
That's okay. Great, exactly.
Got a very interesting structure because we've got almost like 2 or 3 different teams within the company, and each team is kind of pulling in their own direction. And it creates a lot of infighting and uncertainty. However, if we engage, I'm talking Zahira and I engage with the rest of the company, we're part of the company. But as soon as you bring in who's technically the owner of the business, he has the licenses, he creates distinct divisions. So take him out of the picture, there is a team there. It's an interesting dynamic. So, yeah.
Wow, that's very interesting. I mean, let's just check in with Jakes if he can.
Yeah, Jakes, are you there? Jakes? Yeah, I don't think he can speak. Let me just check his. But I can tell you about, Jakes says, if you can hear us, give us a thumbs up and I'll let them know. Okay. Tell us about you, Daphna. What would your vision be?
I think what I would really want my employees to say about me is that I care about them. I think that's for me the most important at the end of the day, because I think that we create a vision and we want to achieve results, and we're all in this for the business and for improving results and performance and getting something out of it. And at the same time, we cannot do it without a team of people that feel like we really care for them beyond the metrics, beyond the achievement of results and performance and what needs to be happen for the business. Yes, we're there for that common purpose, but if we break it down into individuals and people, it's really about how much do we care about our people, and that's really what it boils down to. And I just think that often with the pressures of everyday business life, needing to keep the business afloat, needing to meet targets and meet deliverables and reach a level of excellence, we lose sight of that, of what are the drivers that help us to reach that performance. And the key driver is our people. If our people feel cared about, they feel valued, if they feel like they're treated as a human being and not a cog in a big system, then they'll do what needs to be done. They'll pull together to meet the performance metrics and to meet those measures. So I've got a couple of examples that I'd love to share, and one of them is my own personal example that my background is, as some of you know, I think, is that I'm an actuary, and I worked in corporate, and then I went to work in the university after I had my second child. I was working at the university for the flexible working hours and running my own consulting business on the side. So as a lecturer, I loved my work. I thought there was a lot of contribution that I could add. There were a lot of things that we needed to achieve. And the thing that really kind of created a very big disconnect for me when my disengagement with the university became so apparent and so clear to me, to the point that I decided I'm leaving, is that when I had my third child, I had major complications with the birth. So I worked until the last minute. I'm a dedicated super achiever employee. I will do everything. I worked until the last minute I didn't want to take any maternity leave on the before the birth side. I wanted to leave it for after the birth, so I had time with my new baby. Worked till the last minute, gave it everything, finished marking exams. Then I had my baby, and when I gave birth to her, she was great, thank God, healthy, but I had major complications and nearly lost my life. So I was unconscious for 3 days, in ICU for 5 days, hospital for 8 days, and lots of recovery after that and complications and whatever. Again, thank God I'm alive. It was really, really touch and go for the first 3 days. And that kind of experience always puts things in perspective for you around what's important. So as is normal and regular, my husband phoned my boss to let him know that this major, we were all in absolute trauma, crazy situation. But I think at some point, maybe after a few days, not in the first 3 days, which was just really, we didn't know what was going on. But I think afterwards, my husband phoned us and told him what happened, that I'd had the baby, but I was really not in good shape and I was sick and all of that. I didn't get a phone call from my boss. He sent the secretary to visit me. She came in. She's lovely. I had a good relationship with her. They sent me a thing of flowers, and that was basically it. And basically, like a week later, so do you think you'll be able to get back to work after your maternity leave? What's going to happen? So for me, that was what do they call it? A watershed moment when I realized that all I meant to my bosses and my colleagues, no one came to visit, no one. All I meant to them was to be a workhorse. I was there for the outputs. They were concerned about exams and marks coming in. It was at that time of the year. It was the end of November. They were concerned that everything should be put in, that everything should get done. And they didn't really care beyond that. And for me, that broke down the relationship to such a level that I knew I'd come back, work back my maternity leave and leave, because it was just not okay. And the critical thing for me there was the experience of, I felt like I was purely a workhorse. All they wanted was my outputs, nothing more. And I want to give an example of the other extreme, and then I'll open it up and let's hear from you guys, where there was a person that I worked with, a client of mine, whose father was ill. He had cancer. He was very close to his father, and it was a long period of a few months where the father was going in for treatment and surgery and all sorts of things. And he worked for a very big company. He reported directly to the CEO, and I was blown away how the CEO actually phoned him and said to him, you take the time that you need. Your relationship with your father is the most important thing. If you need time off, if you need to be with him, to take him to treatment, just do what you need. We are here to support you. There wasn't a question of fill in leave forms, fill in sick leave, fill in this, fill in that. We're going to let unpaid leave, nothing. There were no questions asked. CEO would phone him every so often to say, what's going on? Tell me, how are you dealing with it? What support do you need? What can we do for you? And for me, that was a chalk and cheese approach. And this guy, my client, was able to be with his father. His father eventually passed away after a few months. Be with his father in those last few months of his life in a way that was beautiful, and that he didn't have to worry about supporting his family, worry about the financial situation, worry about his work. He could step out, do what he needed to do, and then step right back in again. For me, that is ultimate. And you can imagine that that guy is fully committed and fully engaged to his company. So just two examples that show how that level of care for your employees, where sometimes you set aside the performance and the vision and the targets and the measures for knowing exactly what's going on in your employee's life and making sure you're supporting them, how it makes a difference. It is critical to the level of engagement. So I'd love to hear from you. I've spoken a lot. Let's hear what you guys have to say.
Oh, I mean, for what's come up, that's quite interesting. And if you're willing, I'm happy to, I'd like to share. Daphna sent me a fantastic talk on employee engagement. And within that, you had your questionnaire around understanding and knowing your employee, where you said, well, tell me about how many kids do they have? Tell me about, do they have, I don't know, how they're married or they're divorced, whatever it is, understanding who your employee is. What's interesting around that is you look at a business, and a business is seen as a machine. And people are there to get this machine to work. The problem is people are complicated, and everybody does have a life, and everybody is seen as an individual within themselves. So in order to get that well-oiled machine to work, you got to understand the human element just as much. It's the same as your working parts of a machine. They've got to be oiled, they've got to be looked after, they've got to be nurtured in order for them to run smoothly. And it's just, I think it is an overlooked, the human side is completely overlooked. As you said, you get too focusing on the vision, focusing on the targets, focusing on the money that needs to come in. So yeah, I mean, for me, that was quite.
And I think for some people,
it's hard. I think that it's not that it's hard. It's just not normal. It doesn't seem like a normal thing as a CEO, as a leader, to step in and say, well, all right, how are you feeling? We had a discussion last month where we spoke about the wolves and the wolf pack, around leadership lessons that we learned from the wolves. And what came out of there was the wolf pack is old school. However, it's old school in such a way that you get your main lead wolf, and then you're going to get the animals that'll follow. However, that lead wolf does look after his pack. It's a very fine line to have the balance between being a strict boss as well as having the emotional side to it. And I think that's also a difficult thing to put together, I suppose.
I just want to say on the thing that you mentioned, the tool, I've got a nice tool that if anybody wants, I'm happy to share it, about really getting to know. It's called Getting to Know Your Employees. Yeah. Because I think that's the heart of it. And for some people, it comes naturally. You know, some people are naturally outgoing people and they want to, you know, go walk around. There's a concept of MBWA. I don't know if you've heard of it, called management by walking around, which is at the very core of being a manager, which is walking around and getting to know your employees. Now, for some people, it comes naturally. So, Hannes, I can imagine that if you're in sales, you probably are able to create rapport very easily with people. You kind of walk around, schmooze, ask them about themselves, and it's something that comes naturally for you. But for some people, it might not be. Sorry, Hannes, go ahead. Do you want to?
No, I just wanted to add, like, you know, the type of structure. I think even the layout of your office or your business plays a role in that. I think, like Jan and they mentioned, it's towards a flat structure, and of kind of the open door policy where you can walk in and, you know, engage. But then, and sorry, I don't want to stop the conversation, but I also want to, you know, ask the question: is there something like, or almost, what is too far? Can you get to know your employees too well, that you care too much and that you want to? Can you be too vested in your employees? You know?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a good question. So are you saying kind of that line between being too friendly and being too much of a friend where you lose the ability to be a manager?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think if you become friends with your employees, you know,
Yeah.
and you get to a point, I can imagine, especially with small businesses, where you know, you get to a real personal basis with your people, you know, where they can kind of get away with murder without you kind of lose your authority because of your friendship.
Yeah.
It's
So
also
I think
interesting. Can I interrupt you there? I mean, interesting that comes up. Sorry, Daphna. Is a lot of times I've heard bosses or CEOs or whoever it is might say that work is work and home and work don't mix. It's also an interesting thing to have a look at. As a human, for me, it's impossible to split the two. But yeah.
you can't split the two. You can't. And I think we shouldn't get confused. And I think we do get confused between getting to know your people, caring about your people, loving your people, being friendly and warm, and running a business, which means that you have to hold them accountable, that you have to stick to certain procedures, you know, whether it's safety procedures or leave procedures. The two don't negate each other. They're not mutually exclusive. You can do both. You can care and love your people and run a tight ship in terms of managing expenses, working towards targets, working towards that vision. I'm saying that when you really care about and love your people and really keep them engaged because you know who they are, it just makes that easier. So it's not about being so friendly that you overlook a whole lot of things. That you, in fact, even if you look at the best friendships, the best relationships that you cultivate with people outside of work are those where you can really be honest with each other and hold each other accountable to certain things. You know, Jason can give me a smack and say, come on, go do your plank. You don't say, oh, because he's so nice, don't do your plank today. He will say, stop making excuses and go do your plank. And I will say to him, stop making excuses and do whatever else you need to. Whatever it is that's happening in our discussions, that's being honest and true and real. It's not one or the other. If you're being caring, then you can't be honest. It really is about holding both of those. And that's something that we need to learn. Something that, again, not always comes naturally and easily for people, but definitely a skill that can be learned. So the people who find it hard to be friendly are going to have to work on the friendly side, the getting to know their people and really showing care and love and support. The people who maybe find the friendliness easy might have to work on keeping the structures in place and holding people accountable and making sure that you're still running the business.
Can I jump in here?
I'm just trying to conceptualize Ian's business. Sorry, Ian. In terms of, because I mean, you are in a manufacturing business, and within the manufacturing business, the staff, not to be, it's different. However, it's different in a way that cultures are different, that one person looks after more than just his own family. So when it comes to understanding retirement planning in South Africa, they say it's completely wrong, because you no longer have one person who's looking after himself and his wife. He's looking after himself, his wife, his kids, and then you've got his sister's kids, and then you've got his grandmother, and the family, the community that they look after is much bigger. So I'm just wondering if the stresses are not that much more. How's it in your...
If I can just raise the point that Hannes touched on. It is, I've had the experience before where I was engaging with employees on a personal level, and it rapidly turned into a situation of abuse of that sort of trust and sort of friendship that I extended my hand out. To the stage where, for example, for personal time off or for a family crisis and so on, it just became expected that if I just give Ian a call, I can take the day off and I can do what I need to do. So I think the balance not only needs to be with a leader that can run a tight ship but still be compassionate, you also need to have the correct mindset of employees that realize this is a guy that's extending himself out to me on a compassionate level, but I must not cross the line of assuming that now all of a sudden the CEO is my friend and I can just start taking whatever liberties that I feel I'm entitled to.
Yeah, absolutely right. And it is about finding that balance. So how do you show a level of care where, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I think with regards to the level of care and that engagement, it needs to be done sort of slowly and monitored. I think you will always have different people in a manufacturing environment, and by that I mean different personalities. I have certain employees that I will really go the extra mile for, because I know if the situation was in reverse, they will go the extra mile for me. But to be totally honest, I have employees that I'm very reluctant to go the extra mile for, because quite frankly, they see the company as literally a paycheck, and as soon as I can get out of here, I'm gone.
Right. So I think you've touched on a really important point there, Ian, and that is actually two that one leads to the other. The first one is that element of trust, and that relationship is reciprocal. Okay, it's not about one side doing all the giving and all the caring, right? It's about really getting to a point in the relationship where your employee says, you know, my boss cares about me so much, I will do anything for him. You know, that's the level that you want. And that employee knows that when push comes to shove, if he's going through a hard time, you will do anything for him too.
100%.
That's kind of in the ideal, right?
Correct.
But this is something that's got to be earned. It's not something that just happens, right? And you do get employees where there isn't that kind of reciprocal arrangement, and then obviously you can't be, you know, stupid about it, like keep giving and and this touches on the second point that I wanted to make, which is really around culture. Okay, culture in the organization. And honestly, I know manufacturing has its own nuances, and every industry has its own culture and its own nuance in terms of how it operates. But I do think there is something that is, you know, that cuts across, no matter what the context or the different nuances or specifics for each industry or type of organization. The fact is, when you're clear on the kind of culture that you want to create, there is no room in the culture in a caring culture where everybody has each other's back and you work as a community. There is no room for behavior like you describe. So people who are there for the paycheck and who just, the minute they can, they just leave. The minute that you turn your back, they'll take what they can. You know, you get takers in this world, there's no doubt. What you want to do, and your vision as a leader, is to create the kind of culture where you are attracting the people who are a fit and aligned with your values and culture, and you don't have room for people who are not. So it happens, you get people into the culture who are not a good fit, and then they very quickly get spat out because the culture can't hold them, because there is no room, there's no tolerance for that kind of behavior, which there's also a cost to that. You know, you're desperate for the extra pair of hands. You just need to, in fact, I'm working with a CEO at the moment who's got an employee who's not a great performer, very mediocre, and does not fit with the culture of the office. And he's struggling with the question of, I need that pair of hands, I need that extra brains in my company. I don't know if I can afford to let him go because there's a cost to that. And at the same time, the destructive element that's coming in terms of what it's doing to the rest of the team, what it's doing to the culture, what it's doing to the engagement is not good. So he's got to find the right point. And I'm talking, this is after a while of trying to develop him, doing the processes, and you're not like giving up at this first minute. You've tried a whole lot of things and it's clear there's no fit here. So he's got to now come to the point where he's saying, you know what? It's not going to, you keep dragging and bringing along the mediocre people who don't fit in with your culture, you're changing the culture. And that changes your engagement as well.
Lana and I have spent probably more than a week interviewing about 7 or 8 candidates for a position that we need to fill immediately. And part of our interview process has been technical skills, because Lana has a lot of manufacturing and technical skills herself. But I've also been driving home the fact to Lana that we need to look outside purely technical ability. If we are bringing people on board that will not engage with us and grow in our culture and actually be a champion for our culture, regardless of what technical ability they bring to the table now, those employees are going to hurt us.
Yeah. And that is critical, because if you look at the business that you're building as you're building a community, then you will just help that business to fly. Because we know from, and I work a lot with kind of how our brain works and the neuroscience behind it, and we know that it's critical for people to feel like they belong. So if we go back to our brain and how our brain works, and I'll very quickly touch on it, there's a lot to say. Our brain wants two main things from us, okay? One is survival. It looks after us, the first and foremost, makes sure that we're alive, that we survive. And the second thing, it wants to conserve energy. And that's also for survival, because think about primitive times, caveman times. Our brain needed to conserve the body's energy so that if you came across a threat, a lion in the jungle, whatever, bear or a tiger, your body would always be on high alert, high energy to be able to fight off and stay alive. So the survival part, the first thing, is about actually community. If we are in this together, there was no way that the tribe could survive as a lone individual. We needed each other in order to survive. And that's where our original human need for belonging and community and tribe comes from. It's absolutely a need to survive. And if we're in community, we can survive a whole lot better. We can fight off the threats than if we're a lone individual. And in fact, if there was, in those days, if a person was an outcast, whatever, they had a disease that was contagious, whatever, if he was outcast from the tribe, that meant death. So being an outcast, being an outsider, not belonging, meant death. So that it's critical to create that sense of community and tribe within our human existence, okay? And the second part of it is keeping things simple and clear for people, keeping our messages clear. And you spoke about communication, Lina. It's key, because when it's clear, our brain doesn't have to work too hard. If our brain's working hard trying to decipher what I need to do, what my boss wants from me, what mood he's in at the moment, we're taking a lot of energy away from our key motivation, which is survival. Okay? So those are our two tasks. If we look at a business as an example of that, really catering to how our brain wants us to work, then we know we need to create a sense of community. We're all in this together. And that's through that real care. I've got your back, because when that tiger comes, we're all going to fight it together. And then conserving energy by keeping things clear. Make it clear what's expected of people, what you require, what we're working towards, the communication, the messages, the vision needs to be really clear. And if we can start building the way we engage around those two key facts, we change how people engage with us.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Actually, quite interesting how that what you've just said, your comments and feeling them on the inside. When I start thinking about what's it, the unclear messages that come across, and how anxious you actually do feel, and how you can proper feel it within yourself. Even just thinking about unclear messages, how it gets inside me. And yeah, without a doubt takes up.
Either makes you completely disengage, lack of clarity and confusion. You either disengage because you can't, just too much effort to think about what's required now, or it takes so much effort to try and figure it out that you're not really spending the time and energy on the things that you need to be doing in your business.
Another interesting thing, Daphna, is you often speak about creating your A-team and working with your A-team and being part of your A-team. So here's a question I would ask is, what does your A-team look like? Whether you are, I get Hannes is working on his own, but he is part of a team. I mean, that team needs to work and support and help him grow. And he needs the right people in order to be the best CEO of his business that he is. The same with Ian. What does your A-team look like?
Yeah. And that's like the people that are supporting you. So it could be your structures within your business. the people that report to you and that deliver on your behalf. It could be all your networks that support you on the side. So your colleagues, your support, your other stakeholders, even the clients that you work with, and it could be the people that you're reporting to. There's a whole network of people. And then the people that you take on, like your coaches, your mentors, your advisors, your consultants, to help you achieve what you need to achieve.
Sorry, just a point that I would like to add. And if I was a business owner, I would really value this characteristic.
Can I interrupt you quickly for 1 second, Hannes? You are a business owner.
Okay, that's very true. Okay, but yeah, so that's very true. I run my own business, and that's so I run a panel of brokers, right? So my 18 brokers, typically the characteristics that they have is to act for the greater good of the company and not always for their own interest. I think, and I've had to learn that lesson myself as well. To sometimes, even if it's not towards your own benefit, but to build the brand, build the company, and build the business, you have to, selflessly kind of act and say, okay, you know what, no matter what, there's an easy route out, but I'm going to stand up for my brand or for my company, or I'm going to take the knock because, and it's not nice, or these guys are making me angry, but I'll take it because there's a bigger picture. And there's a bigger goal that I believe in and that I'm also working to. So, yeah, I think that's quite an important characteristic.
Yeah. So I actually want to, and just I think to tie up because we're coming to the end of our time,
yeah.
But I want to share my model for employee engagement, which touches on everything that we said and also that question that we answered at the beginning where I said, what would you want your people to say about you as a boss? And my model for employee engagement is, I call it the 3 C's, which is really about competence. So first things first is making sure that you've got the competent people. People have the competence or the skill for what they need. So right people in the right places, the skills that they need for the job that they need to do, that's critical, that's baseline. The second thing, the second C is care. You've got to care about them. And we spoke about that in various forms. Knowing who they are, caring about that, building that relationship, creating a culture of care. And making sure there's alignment. And the third thing is contribution. Everybody wants to feel that they're contributing to a larger purpose, a larger vision. We all spoke about that. Jason, you mentioned it. Ian, you mentioned it. Knowing that the vision and the direction you're setting for your business and for your team, your people, is the right one and that everybody's behind that. And people want to feel like there's a bigger picture. They don't want to know that this is just I can tell you it happens, there's a lot of attitude of it. It's just a job, paycheck at the end of the month. This is what I want. This is what I need to do, and that's why I'm here. But you want to move away from that because at the core, everybody wants to know that they're part of something bigger. Comes back to that whole brain thing about being part of a community. And if they know that they contribute to a bigger purpose, whether it's something that really is meaningful from a human point of view, or whether it's a company that's doing good in the world. We're seeing more and more the research that shows that our companies need to be connected to another bottom line that goes beyond the profit. And that's something that we also want to bring in. So when we're talking about vision, direction, what are we here for? Why are we in business? There's always something more than just to make money at the end of the day and bring home a paycheck. So that's my model for the 3 C's for engagement.
Thanks, Daphna.
I just want to add something in very quickly, but a food for thought. I've had a bit of a disconnect within the last 2 weeks, which obviously Jason is quite aware of, but I find myself in a very weird situation because I have 2 points of reporting, which is Jason and the CEO. And with Jason, I find myself in the ideal working environment, and with the CEO, the complete opposite. Mm-hmm. So Jason will tell you I work in the weekends and the evenings, which I'm very happy to do. But if the CEO were to ask me, I'll do it with a very, very heavy heart. Yeah. And so I think within the working environment, it can also go both ways because I'm currently there.
Yeah, exactly. And you're showing that you're actually giving us a live example of what it means when your manager takes the time and the effort to create that engagement, to have that level of care. And when your manager doesn't, that
correct, 100%.
And that disengagement, you've got it both.
Yes,
both ways.
Spoiled brat.
I know, but you also
Both
spoiled
things
that
at one
for me.
time.
Cool. So maybe, shall we wrap up, Jason?
Yeah, I think so. Thanks, Daphna. No, for me, employee engagement is quite an important, it is the most important thing in terms of growing your company. Viewed as a community, I think, is also from what stood out and what, and I'm getting all muddled up. But what stood out for me was that creating that community, creating that sense of belonging and getting rid of that uncertainty. When you walk into a working environment and you're uncertain as to what the boss is thinking or what's going on under the covers, and are they trying to hide something? Aren't they trying to hide something? Getting clarity as to where you're going, what's happening, certainly does create an easier environment to work in when you don't have to second guess all the time. And I think for me that really stood out. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jason. Let's hear from others. What are you taking away from today's conversation?
I'll jump in and say the engagement has to happen. It's not an option for a business. There needs to be engagement if you have any sort of future. But I do need to adopt a maybe slightly conservative approach to start with, that I don't repeat previous mistakes of trying engaging employees that are not, that don't have that reciprocal mindset, so that I don't have to backtrack or damage the advances that we've made. So for me, yes, it's a non-negotiable, but I need to proceed with caution.
Great, thank you.
Lana?
Yeah, I think also maybe just to comment on what was just said, and not that I have any experience, but I would say that, one can run your business and but it's about your attitude or just your moral groundings and standings, who you are. It's the way you approach people, it's the way you greet people. But if you are respectful, if you are a professional, people will treat you that same way. And a big lesson that I've learned is surround you with like-minded people. That's one of my biggest things that I drive in my business. And then, just the thought that came loose with me just now again, and that's an old thing that I've always known is inspired people are the best type of people. So if I were to ever run a business or in any form, manage a team, or with my brokers, that's my big drive, is to go out and inspire them, because if once they're inspired, that you get the maximum output, you get that engagement automatically.
Yeah, awesome.
Agreed.
Great. And Lina, what about you? What are you taking away from today?
To me, what stood out is the fact that you need to care about your people, know your people, but also in terms of the mutual respect when it comes to employee and employer. The employee, the workplace, for instance, know that when you're at work, you need to do your work, even though you have a good communication or a good relationship with your boss. But know when you're at work, you need to do your work. That's very important to me. Yeah. And
Zahira?
I need to buy the CEO a teddy bear. He needs to soften up a little bit. That's what I'm taking from us.
Go for it. Let us know how that goes.
I've got to time it properly.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, everyone, from our side. It was lovely to spend the first hour of the morning with you. Thanks for joining us. And as you know, we're always available, Jason and I, on the other side of an email
other
or
side
a
of the world.
The world is all connected. So thanks. And enjoy your day.
Guys. Have a lucky day. And we'll be in touch.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Cheers.